We are continuing our evaluation of NBA prospects that could potentially become Chicago Bulls. And on today's episode, we are going to talk about my man's Collin Murray Boyles out of South Carolina to see if he's a good fit for the Chicago Bulls. They say he's an elite defender. Y'all know we're going to talk about it and break it down, but you got to hear the music first.
Cognac, gang.
Shy Boys Podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down on today's daily episode. So if you're tuned in with me today, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well. Hey, we land on Collin Murray Boyles today. Forward out of South Carolina in this NBA combine that just recently passed, and it's kind of still going on a little bit with a few things here and there left to cover. My man's came in and measured up at 6'6" barefoot, ranges in with the shoes on about 6'7", 6'8", 240 pounds with a 7-foot wingspan and an 8-foot standing reach. Some comparisons out there. If you go out there and you check out Collin Murray Boyles, hey, they got him compared to guys like Draymond Green, Paul Millsap, and Julius Randle. And then in his collegiate career, my man's Collin Murray Boyles averaged 16 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.5 steals, 1.4 blocks per game, and was second team All-SEC. He was the only player in the Power 5 to average 16 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, and 1 steal per game while still shooting above 50% from the floor. Hey, it's decent. And I know there's been some Chicago Bulls fans that are not really on board with Collin Murray Boyles simply because there's some limitations to his game, especially with the size that this player comes in with. But he is viewed to be one of those guys that could potentially become an elite defender in the NBA simply because how he was utilized in South Carolina with some of those tools and all the things that he was able to put out there on tape for a South Carolina team that wasn't really that good. But hey, he shined through it. He's going up the draft charts. A lot of people believe he's starting to rise up on those charts, but there are some things that you can go ahead and have some reservations about when you talk about Collin Murray Boyles. And I get it. One NBA scout up in early January said, well, he's kind of tricky. He's not a shooter at 6'7". That makes me question his fit. I mean, if you're a 4 who can't shoot, where do I play you? It's tough because spacing becomes a concern, but he's a phenomenal rebounder for his size. Absolutely amazing. He's also a great defender, so you don't have to worry about him being a liability on that end. His build and play style are super unique, though. That comes from an NBA scout. You take it for what it is. I'm going to take it for what it is and say, hey, it is what it is. I think that if you're the Chicago Bulls, you consider a player like this, in my personal opinion. You see what a guy can bring to your team. You know that this guy's not really a great three-point shooter. He's not really a good, offensive player. But for a team that wants to get up and down the floor, he can be some type of guy for you that goes out there and is able to have a presence in the paint. That's one of my things that I've been harping on this whole entire time with evaluating these prospects who could potentially become Chicago Bulls, is just simply looking at what type of presence will you allow the Chicago Bulls to have with you on the team. And I think that with the shooting profile that the Chicago Bulls have, there will be some type of concern with him and his shooting performance from the three. Only average about 26% shooting from the three. And out of all the three-point attempts that he had this past season in South Carolina, I think it was like 34 total. He only made 9. So the offensive side of it is very limited. But what some things that I like the kid's motor. I like the kid's motor at 6'7", 6'8". You don't come in with a lot of expectation that you're going to go out there and be able to gobble up a bunch of rebounds. But this guy continues to fight and give his team opportunities with averaging about 2 offensive rebounds per game at that size and 6 defensive rebounds. And I do like his physicality. So when you do go out there and you look at guys like Draymond Green, you look at a Paul Millsap, you look at a Julius Randle, you say these type of guys can muck up a game. These guys, if you are able to push yourself into the playoffs, these guys are essential to what you want to do, especially when the refs are not calling that many fouls like they are during the regular season. And if you have a guy like Collin Murray Boyles, I think it's not such a bad idea, but it is a bit concerning when you consider the offensive limitation. But he does play like a big, and that's another thing that I like. Even though he's undersized, to play that 4 spot, to get some looks at a small ball lineup at center, you do like that he plays like a big. He's able to put the ball on the floor. You see a couple times after watching him that he's able to, you know what I'm saying, have a little pull-up jump shot. But you do want him to go out there and be able to stretch the floor a little bit more. You do like the fact that he's able to go out there and have a physical presence within that range between the rim and then moving back a little bit from the mid-range and put the ball on the floor. But again, some concerns with stretching the floor at this size at 6'7", 6'8". So I do like that the guy has come in and he has the potential to be one of those elite defenders. You know what I'm saying? Get it in the passing lanes, being able to gobble up rebounds, being able to block a lot of shots, being able to recover on weak side defense, and then holding his own on the defensive side when it comes to on-ball defense. But again, you still have your concerns when it comes to the offensive limitation that this player presents. So those are some of the things that I like, which includes his motor, his physicality, and him playing like a big for the Chicago Bulls. If they were to go out there on a limb and say, all right, Collin, you coming on to the Chicago Bulls. But I will argue that the Chicago Bulls need more size, more a player that kind of fits the play style of what they're trying to do. So I don't necessarily know how the Chicago Bulls feel about Collin, but I do understand that there may be some reservations from Bulls fans that might not want to see him on the team. But I also see that Collin Murray Boyles could be a defensive guy that you can have in your starting rotation who might be limited a bit offensively, but that does not mean he can't elevate his game, because a lot of these prospects are going to come into this team, come into this organization, and they're going to have to develop. That's for anybody that's entering a team. Even with all the talents that Montes Buzelis had, we still said, hey, Montes, we need you to develop. So for this young player right here in Collin Murray Boyles, he's definitely going to have to improve a few things to where he can be a player for the Chicago Bulls and be a contributor to how the Chicago Bulls want to play. Now, some of the things I dislike, as already alluded to, is the limitations offensively. A guy that's 6'7", 6'8", coming in at 240, hey, that's a lot of weight. You know what I'm saying? That's a big body that you can have out there. I do love the motor that he has, and I do love the rebound ability that he has, but there will be some limitations offensively because the Chicago Bulls want to get up and down the floor. They want to shoot the 3 ball, and occasionally, or more often than not, attack the basket. He has the attack the basket ability, but how do you go out there and help the team be able to stretch or space the floor a little bit more to where it's conducive to winning and a contributing factor to how the Chicago Bulls want to play? No 3-point shot from this young fella, man. 26% from the 3 is simply not good enough, but that does not mean he can't go out there and work on his game to where that corner 3 becomes a key area on the floor for him, or the top of the key. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to shooting a 3-point shot, becomes a key area for him to knock down 3-point shots. So you look at those things and you say, hey, I see the form. The form looks pretty, it looks all right. You know what I'm saying? It's just now about consistency and how do the Chicago Bulls get the best out of this young player to play within their system. It's all going to be up to the developmental guys, because there's no really developmental staff anymore now that Peter Patton is gone. But now it's going to be on those coaches and all those assistant coaches that surround the Chicago Bulls to make sure if you select Collin Murray Boyles for the defensive purposes, that you now help him out on the offensive side of the basketball game, because it's two sides of the game, and you want to see this young player go out there and be a contributor right away. For me, at least, I want to see him be a contributor right away. I do love the defensive stuff, but you got to be able to help your team, because it's not going to be a lot of things available to you, in my personal opinion, within that painted area at this size. So we'll see. And then my question is for Collin Murray Boyles. Yes, you were a solid and great defender in college, but will you be able to have the foot speed in the NBA to be able to keep up with some of those other fours, to keep up with some of those other threes on the basketball court? And I think that he will be able to utilize that, his foot speed, and utilize his weight to go out there and help him become and remain one of those top defenders in the NBA. I say the way that he fits with the Chicago Bulls, I think that it'll be a good fit personally. I think that as long as he has a developmental plan, he could very well be one of those guys. When you look at a Julius Randle, when you look at a Draymond Green, he has the ability to go out there and find open guys to help them have better shots on that perimeter. And then you see that he has some physicality and some traits to him to where he can muck up a game. I like those type of things. And I know y'all heard me say it before. I know y'all heard me say it recently. I'm looking at not only how does a player be able to fit the Chicago Bulls, but I'm also looking at how, if the Chicago Bulls were in a playoff situation to where there's not many threes that are going to be fired up, a lot of the baskets, at least from what I'm seeing, is going to be a split. It's going to be a split between the three-point shots and how do you get easy buckets in the painted area or in the mid-range. And I think that the way that this young player plays, he's going to give the Chicago Bulls opportunities in those aspects with a physical presence, because how physical he is and can play. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see if he is selected at 12 for the Chicago Bulls. I think that he's able to get up and down the floor pretty damn well. I say that you got to go out there and work on your three-point shot. I think the handle is okay. I think that has to take a step forward as well with his size. I'm not saying he has to go out there and be Kyrie Irving, but I do believe that as long as you can go ahead and touch that up a little bit and give yourself an opportunity to where you can, you know what I'm saying, catch the ball on that low block and be able to take advantage of some matchups, you should be fine. But then after that, when once team collapse down on you and they do their scouting report and have the notice on you to say, hey, we gonna leave them open, can you knock down that three-point shot? So I think that's going to be some of the things that I'm worried about. That's going to be some things that I'm concerned about with his development with the Chicago Bulls. I understand the weight. I understand the height with the long wingspans and the standing reach, but you still want to go out there and see if Collin Murray Boyles is going to be able to take those steps forward. Because if we talking about comparisons to Draymond Green, hey, Draymond Green is one of the best out there. Hella a great defender, and then a guy that can go out there and execute and run the offense that is conducive to winning, and that's how he's able to become a four-time champion. And then you look on, if you're trying to compare him to Julius Randle, look, may not be the best three-point shooter, but these playoffs, Julius Randle, that three-point shot has been falling. Julius Randle, that physicality has been present, and he's able to utilize that jump shot within the mid-range. So if this young player with those comps wants to be a really, really good player and have himself elevate and not have his size be a detriment to how teams feel about him, you got to go out there and work on your offensive game, because that's the way the league is now. It's not a bunch of 90-point games, 85-point games anymore. You got to go out there and you got to be able to put the ball in the basket to the best of your abilities. So it's going to be interesting to see the Chicago Bulls if they do select Collin Murray Boyles. It will be an interesting thing. I'm going to have some questions like what's the developmental plan for this player? What is the role for the player? Can he come in immediately and have an impact is going to be another question. I think that if you go ahead and you select Collin Murray Boyles, he might start off on the bench. And then how does he work his way up into a starter role? Because I believe if you pass up on some prospects who I believe can come right in and be a starter for your team, how does Collin Murray Boyles get to that starter spot, especially with the team needing young players to push this thing forward? He will come in and be a solid defender for them off the jump. I think the defense is going to be present off the rip. But how do you become a factor on the offensive side will be the biggest question for Collin Murray Boyles. But hey, let me know how you feeling about Collin. Type all your thoughts and everything down below. I do know there was somebody who left a mailbag voicemail. We will get to you on the next episode. I want to have C-Dub present so both of us can respond to that. So just hold your horses one time for me. But we're going to get to you on the next episode for sure. We will not miss that one. But hey, that is it for me for today's episode. I appreciate y'all, man. Make sure y'all always see red. Hit that like button and subscribe. And y'all already know I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure.
Cognac.